What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Hands Off My Hobo Rocket. It's me, Sasank, and today we're talking something really fun, something I really like. We're talking salary caps. We're talking about the MLB luxury tax, the NBA soft salary cap, the NFL salary cap, and the NHL salary cap. So we're talking salary systems. And so before we dive in all this, I gotta first define what exactly the salary caps are, the salary systems are. The NBA has a crazy one. The MLB has a tax system because there is no real cap limit, really. It's not hard set. And the NHL and the NFL have kind of a hard-ish limit. So let's start with the NBA. The NBA has a soft cap system. So what that means is that you're allowed to exceed it. However, there have to be certain reasons for why you exceed it, and you have to pay kind of a tax after, a luxury tax. So it's not hard set. So how do you determine what the initial cap is? Well, that's going to be related to basketball-related income and how the NBA and the collective bargaining agreement they agreed on determines, and it's you just like tickets, broadcasting rights, sponsorships, it's stuff like that. And so the current salary cap is at $102 million. So the payroll for the team is $102. So they have a lot of rules on what exactly someone could get paid. There's the Derrick Rose rule, there's the Kevin Durant rule, there's the Larry Bird exception. Some of these are kind of cool. Like the Larry Bird exception, we know it as the veteran qualifying offer, or the vet minimum. Then there's the D Rose rule. And the Derrick Rose rule, I always forget what this one is, just because it's so weird. So, it's the designated player rule. So, there's the Derrick Rose rule. It's about any player that's been selected to an All-NBA team or a DPOY or an MVP from the second season onwards. They are required to get a certain salary minimum. Derrick Rose got this when he signed with the Bulls. Kevin Durant rule has exceptions like this also. Whenever he won stuff with OKC, he was guaranteed certain money. So that's the NBA. And these exceptions are applied at the end of the season. And there's the luxury tax. So teams below this, so if there are teams above and teams below, there will always be. And teams below it will receive 1/30 of the tax money that's gained. The teams above it have to pay a tax that is, I think, near like 61% of what they're over. They pay 61% of that to the league, and then that money gets divided up. And whatever doesn't, any portion that's left, so let's say there are 10 teams under, and there's 20 teams above, those 20 teams will pay their 61%, and then those of the 10 under will get 1/30 of all that money. Everything else goes to the league. It may be reserved by the league. It goes to the league for league purposes, advertising, anything like that. And any money after that is split up to all teams. So it's possible for a team to get back money they lost from the tax exception, but it's going to be definitely less than what they paid. There's no way you can make a profit off of this, really. And so that's the NBA. The NFL is, the CBA initially set in '94 the cap at $34 million, and it's consistently increased. And in 2013, it was $123 million. Where is it right now? The NFL has it's like $170 something million, I think. Obviously the signing bonuses they're allowed. Like Andrew Luck, he was the first overall pick in 2012. He signed a 4-year deal worth $22 million. but that wasn't his whole rookie contract. There was a $14.5 million signing bonus. So the fact that he signed guaranteed him $14.5 million. But it's over 4 years, so the Colts can pay this off in 4 years. So the Colts did, if they put it on their payroll, they put $3.6 million on their payroll for each of the 4 years. Aaron Rodgers had the same deal. There's also cash incentives. So these are like, Le'Veon Bell, you rush for 1,000 yards, you get $500,000 more. Adrian Peterson, you rush for 1,000 yards, you get $1 million. Cool. Just add stuff like that. So that's the NFL salary cap. The NHL salary cap actually has two parts. It has the cap and the floor. So the ceiling is hard. It's a hard set. You can't go over it. You can't go under it. Under it is the floor part. But there's certain restrictions on how much you can actually pay a player. So no one player can earn 20% of the salary cap. So if you have $100 million that's in your salary cap, no player can earn $20 million that season. And the minimum a player's salary will rise is like $500,000 or a bit above that. The minimum that the player salary raise can be. So what usually happens is a player gets paid X amount, and then they'll slowly start increasing that pay to reach their full deal. So whenever you see a player signing, he signed a $3 million over 6 years. Well, he's probably going to get paid half, like 0.4. You get 400,000, 600,000. XX over the 6 years. They spread it out. Now, let me tell you, if you're signing a $4 million deal over 6 years, that's extremely cheap. Usually it's $4 million average over 6 years. And obviously there's performance-based bonuses also. So let's say Alexander Ovechkin, you score 50 goals. You get an extra $5 million. That's that. There's waivers also. So waivers go like this. You put a player on waivers, therefore they're sent to the minors. This is with a one-way contract. There's a two-way contract and a one-way contract. A two-way contract, waivers don't apply, I believe, because they're signed with the minor league affiliate. A one-way contract means you're signed with the NHL affiliate. So when you're signed with the NHL and you got to be pushed down to the minors, out of performance or too many players on the roster, you get sent down, and each of the 29 NHL teams can try to claim the player. And then whenever the claim has been put, the worst team has the first opportunity. And it goes all the way up till the best team has the opportunity. If a player passes through waivers, then he's re-signed to the minors, and the cap hit is cleared until he's called back up. And the eligibility, it's actually really more complicated. It isn't just, one way versus two-way deal. It's much more complicated. There's also re-entry waivers. So a great example was if the Rangers claimed Sean Avery when he was initially waived, they were going to have to take $4 million of Sean Avery's cap hit to re-enter. That's because his initial cap hit was voided when he went down to the minors, and if it was picked up during that, his whole contract would carry over. Obviously, there is veterans, players over 35. Great example, Jaromir Jagr or Chris Chelios. They're guaranteed a certain amount of money. There's also unrestricted free agents versus restricted free agents. So UFAs are just normal free agents. So at the end of the season, James Neal this year will be a UFA. So there's no weird stuff. RFA has weird qualifying rules. You can qualify the offer, which means you either if they accept it, that's a 1-year deal for either 10% more or 5% more, or you just match the previous salary contract. And that means during free agency, another team could say, okay, I'm going to match your offer or increase it. And if you agree, we're going to have to give you, some sort of compensation. So if, the usual example is the offer sheet or the compensation is between, $860,000 to like $1.3 million annually. If that offer is matched by another team, then if one team says, yeah, sure, have him, the other team will send their third round pick over. So if the Pens have an offer sheet for Billy Bob Joe, that's $1 million, and the Rangers said, okay, yeah, I want to pick up Billy Bob Joe. What would happen is Billy Bob Joe, cool, his $1 million contract now increased by 5%. So $1,500,000, I believe, will go to $1,050,000, whatever it is. Billy Bob Joe, that contract goes to the Rangers, and the Rangers are going to send over their third round pick, to the Penguins, and that's how it goes. Now there are like really weird things happening, which is, let's say you have a restricted free agent who's making more than $6.5 million. If someone matches that offer sheet and signs him, and it's allowed, the receiving team, the team that had that player initially, gets 4 first-round picks. So crazy stuff can happen with offer sheets. It rarely happens, though. You rarely get the, oh yeah, I'm getting a, you're rarely getting a first-round pick back. It'll be a third or second round, because that's where you're getting up into $2.6 million contracts as a restricted free agent, which just doesn't happen because it's hard to do that. There's also arbitration. Works like how it does in the MLB. The third-party arbitrator is going to say, okay, Alex Ovechkin, you think you're worth $100 million. The Washington Capitals think you're worth $85 million. Well, based off your performance, you're actually worth $90 million. So you're going to get paid $90 million by this team since you've reached arbitration, and you get a 1-year deal with that. That's how it works. There are also buyouts. A player over 26 can be bought out for 2/3 of his contract worth. Under 26, 1/3, and cap hits still take place. Obviously, there are no move, no trade clauses and all that. Just like that. So that's the NHL, and then there's the competitive balance tax for the MLB. Now, they call it the competitive balance tax. I call it, how big is your wallet, owner? Because some owners, Bob Nutting, do not want to go over the tax because they don't want to pay more. While some other owners of, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Cubs, these guys say, oh yeah, we're win now. I don't care how much I have to pay. I'm already paying $195 million. I might as well pay $3 million and just get it over with. Give me that 40% tax. I don't care. So, right now the competitive balance tax is that you start paying a tax at $195 million. That was last season. This season's supposed to be $197. Clubs that exceed it by $20 million to $40 million pay a 12% surtax. So that means they pay 12% of the money they're over. If you're over $40 million, the first time you pay is 42.5%, and if they continue over $40 million, it's 45% surtax. I believe I don't remember what the number is if you're between $0 and $20 million. I don't remember what that number is, but a good example is the Dodgers in 2013 exceeded the CBT well over $200 million in total. So the Dodgers also will exceed the luxury tax in 2014, 2015, 2016, and they will incur steeper penalties in the years to come. So the Dodgers management and owners are paying more and more. So, You're thinking, oh, Sasank, why are you talking about this? Who cares about all of this? Well, as a fan of a team who doesn't like to spend money, this competitive balance tax in the MLB is not making it competitive at all. There are teams that are under the CBT that are just trying to stay alive. Then there are teams that are above the CBT that just don't care. They just have rich owners. The New York Yankees were a really good example. From 2003 to 2016, they were over the CBT, and total tax amount paid was $303 million. The Red Sox, another good example. From 04 to 07, 10 to 11, and 15 to 16, they were over the CBT. They paid, $25 million. Not as bad. The Dodgers, from 13, 14, and 16, they paid $113 million. The Cubs in 2016 were over. They paid $3 million-ish. So what's so wrong about this is that every team I've listed there has been competitive. The Yankees have been competitive in those years. The Dodgers have been competitive in those years. The Red Sox have been competitive in those years. The Cubs won the World Series that year. Some exceptions, Detroit Tigers, they were competitive in 08-ish. 2016, they're a bit over just because they had bad contract situations. They paid $5 million. The Giants in 2015-16, because of bad contract situations, they paid $4.7 million over. The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim in 2004, they paid under $1 million because they're just over just a bit. There are teams that go all in and don't care and are paying that tax, which they're fine with. And there are teams that avoid that tax like it's the plague. And it makes the MLB slightly unfair. It really hurts owners that don't want to pay more, that are conservative with their money. And this allows for big name moves. For example, Derek Jeter just became the owner of the Miami Marlins. Immediately, he got rid of Giancarlo Stanton, Christian Yelich, Marcelo Ozuna. 3 players that were going to need a huge, huge contract. That's terrible because he gave them to the New York Yankees, St. Louis Cardinals, and Milwaukee Brewers. Now, the Brewers deal with Yelich, that's fine. That's fine. The Brewers are a small market team, and Yelich's contract, I believe, was pretty small. Ozuna didn't have the biggest contract, but in his, contract expiration season, when he performs well, which he's supposed to, his contract that next year is going to be huge. That's going to be terrible for probably the team that wants to sign him, which is probably going to be the Cardinals. And then Giancarlo Stanton. Giving Stanton to the Yankees just really exemplifies the problem in the MLB. Because it goes from, I am a poor franchise, the Marlins, that currently have lost all hope at getting to the playoffs. So I'm going to sell everything cheap. I get it to one of the richest franchises with one of the most dominant teams already and make them even better. Well, that's just terrible. You're ruining the competitive balance of the league. It's no longer competitive. The AL is now becoming so stacked that the NL has like 4 good teams, and they might not be able to compete with the AL. Because the AL, you have Houston, you have Boston, you have Cleveland, you have Minnesota sometimes. Maybe I hope they make some moves to get good. And they have the Yankees. That's 5 teams right there. Now in the NL, you have you got Washington, you got the Dodgers, you got maybe the Cubs, maybe the Cardinals. The last 2 just they're halves. So 5 versus 3. Well, it's just not going to work. The World Series is going to be won by an AL team in 2018, 2019. I'm guaranteeing that to you because of the competitive balance tax, because it's not a cap, it's a tax. And when it's a tax, owners that are stupid rich are just going to go over that, and they're going to say, I'm going to win now philosophy. I want myself a World Series trophy. I want that pennant. So I'm going to pay what's necessary to do so. And teams that are more conservative, especially like the Pirates, I'm going to use as a great example, aren't going to be able to do that. Because they're more conservative with their money and they want to win a team under the tax. And we saw, the Chicago Cubs of 2016 were like that gleaming hope. Oh, maybe they could do this. Maybe they could do this. They went over the tax limit. The Astros weren't over the tax limit this year. That's because they had young contracts. If they win it again in 5 years from now with big contracts, then we'll see. The Dodgers, if they won it this year, we're gonna be an example of big contract team winning big. If the Yankees win it this year, big contract team winning big. If the Red Sox win it this year, big contract team winning it this year. I believe if the Nationals win it this year, they might be a big contract team winning it big if they make proper moves to shore up their outfield and their bullpen. So the competitive balance tax, it did its job early on, but it's just not working. It's just not working now. The MLB really needs to implement an NBA like salary system, because it avoids absurd contracts like the Giancarlo Stanton one. So I actually want to look up Stanton's contract because it's bogus. Yes, Stanton is a good player, but his contract is just crazy. Just absolutely bonkers. Let's see. So yeah, Stanton was traded to the Yankees for Devers, Guzman, and Castro. I don't think that's a fair trade. I think the Yankees won and the Marlins lost. So, Giancarlo Stanton, from 2018 to 2028, will be making at least $25 million per year. Per year. He may opt out after the 2020 season, and the Marlins have to pay $30 million to the Yankees if he does not opt out. That's just crazy. That's just this is crazy. He was drafted by the Marlins. Doesn't show here his. Let me see if I can find a better contract signing, because I wanna give you the crazy numbers. Yes, here we go. 13 years. Wow, $325 million. Wow. He has a full no trade clause. He can opt out in 2020. There's a 2028 club option. MVP gets him $100,000. LCS MVP gets him $250,000. World Series MVP $500,000. And Gold Glove, Silver Slugger, All Star will get him $50,000. And the buyout on him is $10 million. Just, oh my God, it's just not a fair. It's just terrible. It's just an absolutely horrendous contract for anyone. It's just absolutely bonkers. So let's look. The other contracts that are good. That show big contracts that are actually helpful to a team. Mike Trout is a great example. Trout's contract is 6 years, $144.5 million with a $5 million signing bonus. He's a free agent in 2021, and there's just a full no trade clause. That's fine. This is absolutely fine. This contract works. It's a good contract. for the Angels and for Trout. The full no trade clause allows the Angels to keep him. The money worth makes sense. 6 years, $144 million, averaging $24 million. That's fine. Mike Trout is a $24 million player. He is the best, and if not, top 3 players in the league right now. And that being said, he hasn't even made it to the playoffs yet. So imagine what he can do in the playoffs. Clayton Kershaw, arguably the best pitcher right now, up there with Strasburg, Greinke, who's the other Nationals pitchers? Strasburg and I forget his name. Either way, he has a 7-year, $215 million contract with $18 million signing bonus, $30.7 million AAV. Free agent 2021. He's a UFA. He has an opt out in 2018. I don't think he's gonna take that. He has a signing bonus of $18 million. Cy Young, his first one. If he's first, it's $1 million. If he's second or third, $500,000. Trade bonus $3 million. If he gets traded, he gets $3 million. I think. Kind of a weird contract situation, but hey, it's fine. Then you have contracts that don't make much sense, like David Price. 7-year, $217 million. No signing bonus, average of $31 million. Man, the Red Sox are really kicking themselves here. Because David Price has not been what they want from David Price. Just hasn't been. Sadly. He has no deferred money, so he gets all of his money according to the cap, the tax rules, and just how contracts work in the MLB. He gets all of his money then, and he can opt out after 2018. If they do well this year, he's staying. I can see it. Jason Hayward. This contract was for his glove, not even for his bat. 8 years, $184 million. This is a great one because it's 23 on average, and it helps the Cubs because of his gloves. And he can opt out after 2018, full no trade clause, and a partial trade clause after 2019. So it's fine. But the CBT, notice that all those were like 23, 24-ish million dollars. If this were any other sport, that would be crazy. Absolutely insane. Now, I just listed 3 players that are averaging over $20 million a season. The largest payroll on the Pirates. I'm actually going to look at this. Andrew McCutchen's contract. He had the largest salary on the Pirates. He was averaging $8.5 million. 6 years, $51.5 million, with a $1.25 million bonus, signing bonus. It makes that is a good contract. That is a contract that fits in every single league, and the NBA and the NFL and the NHL. The NHL, this is like an elite contract. This is like an Alex Ovechkin, Sidney Crosby level contract. In the MLB, this is your former NL MVP, heart of a franchise contract, but you're not number 1 in the game. You're not number 2. You're not even number 10. You're like number 50 at best. No, it's just not how it's supposed to be. This doesn't make any sense. The CBT just doesn't work for small market teams because when your best player is making $5.5, $6.5, $8.5 million, that's wrong. Because then you have another team, they're like third best pitcher is making $31 million. Or your second outfielder is making $15 million. This is what happens with the CBT. And this also goes with the MLB's market distribution and how the market distribution isn't fair to some small market teams, and it really hurts them. Now, yes, you can make the argument, yeah, there were former small market teams that did it. Chipper Jones, he did it. There are small market teams that want it, but those are rare. you have to get once in a franchise type players, once in a lifetime type players that that allow that allow you to really, it allows them to carry that team. And usually that player is not, usually that player isn't a pitcher. It's always someone right down the pipe, either your center fielder or your shortstop or second baseman. It's always that, and maybe even a catcher. It's possible. It's never a pitcher that does that, and it just also the fact that MLB players, they don't take the hometown. They won't take a hometown discount. LeBron will take a hometown discount. He took it when he came back to Cleveland. I'm going to use this example lightly, but Dwayne Wade took a hometown discount when he signed with the Cavs. Now, his hometown discount really would have been, okay, re-signing with the Heat for less. But that just didn't work. He was done with the Heat. The Heat were rebuilding. Wayne wanted part of something better, so went to Chicago. He signed an okay-ish contract with Chicago, and Chicago was like, no, we don't want you. D. Wade went to Cleveland, more or less because LeBron wanted him there. And that's why I'm saying it's hometown, because he went there because LeBron was there. It's just, if you take the hometown contract, if MLB players and the MLBPA and the Players Association decided no more bogus contracts, let's make a fair and balanced salary system, you'll get much more competitive play. Much more competitive play. It will not be polarizing. You will not see teams like, the Braves, the Phillies, the Pirates, the Marlins. You won't see teams like that failing. Because they are. The Braves, the Tigers, they're failing right now. They're failing to win games and be competitive. If you have a 60 to 70 games won, you're failing by even less than that. Between 60 and 70 being optimistic. If you're doing that, you're failing. Because by the MLB standpoint, with this competitive balance tax, nope, you should be winning 70, 80, 90 games. It just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. And that being said, the NBA's has some flaws. The NHL's has its flaws. The NFL's has its flaws. But the greatest flaw, the one that has the greatest flaw, is most definitely the MLB. So let me know what you think. I'm open to talking about this, discussing it more. You can contact me, tweet at me @_svish. I'm always open to discuss sports and everything. Coming up on Wednesday, we'll be talking either about the process or talking some more playoffs or the hot stove or something else that could happen in the sports world. Maybe something big happens in the next 2 days. But we're going to be talking that. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the flip side.